Here to help us understand how sexual misconduct allegations are addressed in schools are John Moser, parent representative on the local school council for Lincoln Park High School, Troy LaRaviere, president of the Chicago Principals and Administrators Association, and Katharine Baker, professor of law at IIT Chicago Kent College of Law. John Moser, let's start with you. There was a meeting last night between your LSC and the district. What's been the reaction from members of the LSC, the local school council?
I'm a member of the LSC. The LSC is very involved. There were a couple of our colleagues invited down to the offices last night. They had an opportunity to kind of hear a little bit more than what we had heard from the presentation from Chicago Public Schools, and we hadn't heard much up to that point. So it's been 11 days.
So last night was the first time
anyone from the LSC had spent time with anybody in CPS. And so I think what the key takeaway I think I heard was from my colleagues was that there was a little bit more information shared. The information we heard was that, and none of the administrators that we know, their only charges were aligned with communications and procedures.
Troy LaRaviere, you surveyed CPS principals, those who are both your members in CPAA as well as those who are not. You heard responses from quite a few. What are they telling you?
Well, we found out three major failures at a district level, not at the school level, but at a district level. We found that they are scapegoating principals for these failures. They're scapegoating principals for their failure to communicate a clear, consistent, and coherent policy, and often communicating contradictory policies. They're scapegoating principals for their failure to put resources into the school so that they can follow these policies and protect students.
We've got a few graphics here based on the results from your survey. The one that we're looking at right now, the question is, I get the support and resources I need from the district to effectively follow reporting and investigation procedures for incidents of alleged sexual misconduct. 73% of respondents disagree.
Exactly. Only 27% could say that they got the support necessary to give students what they need to protect them. And I think Michelle Brumfield from Lincoln Park is a perfect example. The assistant principal who was removed. I sat with her yesterday and she told me that she sent the district several emails asking for security assistance at basketball games to supervise these young people and help keep these young people safe so they can have the supervision they need. And after an incident that's allegedly related to the basketball teams happened, they denied the security. They didn't give her the security she wanted. And after they had an incident as a result, in part because of that lack of security, they're going to hold her responsible where this penny pinching person at the district is still in his job, and this veteran who has spent 25 years of her life serving students is gone. And I want to bring the voices of principals from the survey in to highlight a couple of those failures. In terms of the communication, three different principals. When OSP, the Office of Student Protections, looked into the processes at our school, they changed the rules several times. Even within that one investigation, they don't have their procedures in line in a way that a school can actually support them. An investigator told me not to investigate or punish a student while the OSP investigation was taking place. Then later after the investigation, they told me I should have disciplined the exact same student before the investigation. And we've also seen a failure above CPS at the level of the Office of Civil Rights and other investigative agencies in terms of holding district officials accountable for those previous failures that I just mentioned.
What is your reaction to what the district has handled so far? And if you would, give us a reminder of what Title IX states, the law.
So the district is responsible for keeping its students safe. They are responsible for giving the resources that were just described. And they are responsible for putting in place a reporting system that protects students and the accused. So the district's responsible for that. That is a matter of federal law. That's what Title IX requires.
And I think from the beginning, it's been basically a case study in what not to do in communication. Communication builds trust. And from the very beginning, CPS, they put the announcement out about what happened on a Friday evening. It was additional media coverage of a press release saying that these are all the things that happened. And when we showed up on Monday, the school kind of revolted. That's where kids walked out. That's where, there was protests and you saw the great support for the administration, for the basketball team, for everybody involved at the school. No one understood what happened because there was no information that anyone had. all week long, that continued to be the case. For the past 12 days, everything CPS had done up until last night had run counter to sharing information and run counter to building trust. And at the, the information that we received at the town hall from the district, it was aggressive in tone to start. It was, they didn't put their best foot forward. Basically, they were defensive. They were on their phones. They had their backs to the audience. They weren't listening to the questions that were being asked. I mean, it started off really, really bad. And I think the community and the students, there's no trust. And as, time has gone by over the past 12 days, I think that's been the theme that's been running through it. It would have been a lot easier if we're the LSC, we're the elected officials of the school to help with principal search, principal review, potentially recommending principals being taken out, accountability on budget, accountability on, what the principal does. John Thuot he's an interim principal. Like, you would think that the guidance for him would be coming from the central office. Who's accountable for his career growth? And so, looking at all of that information from our point of view, we feel that these are people who have allegations against them. They don't know what those are. We barely know what they are. And it's hard to take those administrators out of the school, away from the children who trust them.
Troy, do you feel like the principals are getting enough training?
The principals don't feel like the principals are getting enough training. That's the most important part, that they are not getting enough training. I think over about 70% said that the training is unsatisfactory. But most of all, the principals feel as if they are being held accountable for things that the district is failing to do. That's what's most important. One principal told me, and it's a short quote, he said, when central office is in error, they just say sorry and it's over with. When school administrators are in error, central office seeks to castigate us.
The district's already under federal oversight for Title IX dollars. From what you've seen and heard, are they handling this correctly so far?
Obviously, the district is under a great deal of pressure given the consent decree that they entered into in September. So it is likely that they are incredibly nervous about this entire situation.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. My thanks to Katharine Baker, Troy LaRaviere, and John Moser. Thanks for coming in.